Every legend's prime eventually comes to an end, its course just as inevitable as the rhythms of life itself. But what we couldn't have seen coming, even in a time all but defined by loss far beyond any ballpark, was that baseball would have to say goodbye to so many legends in just a short span of time. 10 Hall of Famers, all gone within less than a year, all leaving indelible marks on the game.
Al was the most gentlest of people, classiest of guys. We bonded right away. I mean, there was just something, and it was the calmness in his voice, the smile when we would talk, and the laughter we would have, and the number of times we told each other we loved them.
Al Kaline, the man they called Mr. Tiger, had spent a remarkable 67 years with the Tigers organization as a player, broadcaster, and executive. At age 20, he became the youngest batting champion ever, a distinction that still holds today. Kaline was a 16-year veteran in 1968 when the Tigers finally reached the World Series. He had .379 with 8 runs batted in. 6 years later, he reached one of the game's seminal batting milestones. Mr. Tiger retired after that '74 season, and 5 years later, he was welcomed into Cooperstown as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He epitomized what a Hall of Famer is. He was the most perfect gentleman.
311 wins, 3 Cy Youngs, 3,600 strikeouts. The truth is, numbers only began to explain the legacy of George Thomas Seaver.
Tom, terrific, Tom Seaver.
I remember the first time I faced him. Here it is, hit it. That's what I got. It's probably better than what you got, and here it is, hit it. Here the Mets were the buffoons of baseball. He gave them the respect. All of a sudden, credibility was there. Now they became winners.
We never put our heads between our legs, and we always fought, and it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Seaver spent a decade in New York as the franchise. But then in 1977, he would be dealt to Cincinnati, where he'd throw a no-hitter and get his 3,000th career strikeout. He'd also forge a lifelong friendship with me.
Tom was a man's man, I'm telling you. Just so witty, and we laughed, and we laughed, and we just found humor in so many things. It was just so wonderful to know a guy like that.
Following his 20-year career, Seaver became a first ballot Hall of Famer in 1992, receiving a then record 98.8% of the vote.
For me, it's the last beautiful flower in the perfect bouquet, because the 20 years that I had as a professional athlete all came together for me.
Lou Brock was one of the greatest base stealers in baseball history and a Cardinals icon. Over 16 seasons in St. Louis, Brock would lead the National League in stolen bases 8 times, including an unforgettable 1974 when he had 118 steals, which shattered the single-season record. 3 years later, Brock would take down the most hallowed base-running mark of all.
He's going. The pitcher's high. The throw is safe. He stole it. And this is it, folks. Brock has now stolen 893.
It was one of the greatest challenges of my whole career was the competition I had with Lou Brock. Yeah, you got a star on your chest when you got Lou Brock.
Over 19 big league seasons, there were more than 3,000 hits, the 938 stolen bases, and a near 400 batting average in 21 career World Series games.
I feel proud to take my seat among the greatest players ever to play Major League Baseball.
Bob Gibson wasn't just one of the most dominant pitchers the game of baseball has ever seen. He was one of the fiercest. In 1968, baseball's year of the pitcher, there was no one tougher to hit than Gibson. who pitched to a microscopic 1.12 ERA, still the lowest mark in the live ball era. In a fitting coda to his majestic '68 season, Gibson took the mound against the Tigers in Game 1 of that year's World Series and delivered a record-setting performance.
He got it! A new world record of 17 strikeouts.
Gibson won the clinching games of the 1964 and '67 World Series, stamping his legacy as a Cardinal icon and first ballot Hall of Famer.
Whitey Ford, with 10 victories, is the winningest pitcher in World Series history.
It would be hard to find an icon and a team in baseball history who seemed more destined to be linked than Edward Whitey Ford and the New York Yankees. The chairman of the board would play on 6 World Series champions with the Yankees from 1950 to 1962. His dominance in October was an historic piece of the club's success.
The Yankees rush in to congratulate Ford, who completely dominated the game.
Whitey Ford retired from the Yankees in 1967, the winningest pitcher in franchise history, and the most dominant postseason pitcher of all time.
He was a Yankee, he was a world champion, but he was just absolutely the guy who gave you the credibility of what you were, that you felt like a Hall of Famer when you were with Whitey.
My friend and teammate Joe Morgan was one of the greatest second basemen ever. In fact, you could say Joe was the engine of our Big Red Machine in Cincinnati in the '70s.
I tell people he was the greatest player in baseball. If you needed a base hit, he got a base hit. If you needed a double, he got a double. If you needed a home run, he get the ball out of the ballpark.
There she goes, deep to right field. Put me out of here. 1-0 Cincinnati.
He was a 10-time All-Star, won 5 consecutive Gold Gloves, and was a back-to-back NL MVP during our World Series championship years in '75 and '76.
The Cincinnati Reds are the world champions.
After retiring in 1985, Joe stayed in the game as a broadcaster for more than another quarter century and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1990, with his significance firmly solidified in baseball history.
Truthfully, I never dreamed about making the Hall of Fame. I only dreamed about making it to the major leagues. This is what baseball is all about. We're very lucky.
If longevity were a baseball player, he'd be Phil Niekro. With his signature knuckleball, Niekro pitched in the majors for 24 seasons, 21 of those for the Milwaukee and then Atlanta Braves.
It comes out of the fingers without any spin to it.
No other pitcher was ever connected to one pitch as Niekro was to his famous knuckleball.
Holy cow, what a win ending! A strikeout gets his 300th career win.
Sparky called me into the office in Cincinnati and said, "We got a chance to trade for Niekro. What do you think?" And I said, "I think you better trade for his catcher too. I'm not going out there with him."
The pitcher doesn't know where it's going, nor does the catcher know where it's going.
That knuckleball got Phil Niekro to the Hall of Fame in 1997. Not bad for one very special pitch.
This game is on, and it belongs to you, the fan. Cherish it and take care of it.
Only a personality as big as Tommy Lasorda's could obscure the greatness of his career as a manager. 7 division titles, 4 pennants, and 2 World Series championships over Tommy's 21-year career as Dodgers skipper.
Nobody thought we could beat the team who won 104 games. Nobody believed it.
Lasorda was famous for saying he bled Dodger blue, and no wonder. From Brooklyn to Los Angeles as a player, coach, manager, and executive, he was in the Dodgers organization for an astounding 7 decades.
If you don't love the game, you should go out and get a new job.
And in 1997, Tommy and that big personality were inducted into the Hall of Fame.
This is the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my lifetime. I am living a dream.
Don Sutton was a remarkably durable pitcher. 23 years in the majors, 16 of them for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
One of the grand masters of the game goes to the man of the night, Don Sutton.
By the end of his career, Sutton had won 324 games and is currently 7th all-time in career strikeouts.
Don Sutton all the way for the win.
When he was done playing, Don had a very successful broadcasting career. Don Sutton made his mark everywhere he went. He's in the Milwaukee Brewers Wall of Honor, in the Atlanta Braves Hall of Fame, and his number 20 was retired by the Dodgers. In 1998, Don Sutton received the greatest baseball honor of them all, his place in Cooperstown.
I've had a dream come true that's a validation that what my dad taught me a long time ago is true. You can earn a dream coming true.
It's been said that greatness is a subjective word, but how else to describe Hank Aaron? The numbers are a good place to start. 25 All-Star selections, the record for most career RBIs, extra base hits, and total bases. And of course, those 755 home runs.
There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
There was greatness in the way the hammer played, those lightning-quick wrists. Every hit seemed to be a line drive, and the effortless way he ran and played right field. And there was greatness in the way Hank lived, the way he carried himself through the threats and hate as he broke Babe Ruth's home run record.
What a marvelous moment. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South.
For truly I reflect on my life, and particularly my 23 years in baseball. The way to fame is like the way to heaven, through much tribulations.
Hank Aaron was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1982. 20 years later, he received the Presidential Medal of Honor. A true civil rights hero, Hank Aaron lived a life of dignity and greatness. Every time I saw Hank, it was a smile as big as this. I hope that he liked me as much as I liked him, because he was just a special man. There are those who will tell you that the game promises at least a glimpse of eternal youth. All those memories of so many perfect days and nights, visions of true brilliance at its absolute peak, and the notion that a chosen few among us can be so great at something that it seems like they can make anything possible. Even if the truth is they can't stop time. Because even baseball can't keep you eternally young, no matter how invincible, how incredible, how indelible it seems a figure can be on the diamond. But if icons are mortal, their impact in the cities where they played, the imagination of everyone who watched them will nonetheless endure for as long as they play this game.